April was my birthday month, so of course I had to get my hands on a couple books. I am trying to test a few different things, like different genres that might or might not work for me. I gotta experiment a little bit more, getting out of my comfort zone. And I think that later this summer I might do a little bit of a no-buy. So I'm taking the opportunity right now to just get a few more things, and then I will take a break because I'm trying to read the books that are on my shelves. But it's not so much because I don't want to buy more. I have the space for it. It's just that I need to get around to reading the ones that have been on there for way too long, which brings me to the first book I want to talk about, because Vow of Thieves is the second book. I read Dance of Thief last month and I loved it, gave it 5-star. This had been on my shelf for 8 years. Ridiculous. I'm discovering that Romantasy does work for me. It's just a question of finding the ones that do. Because I think I was reading a lot of popular ones. It was more hit and miss. So I fully accepted that this year I'm testing that. And I'm going into it knowing that at first it might be hit and miss until I figure out exactly what works for me. So I'm open-minded, but I'm sure I'm going to enjoy book 2. This was enemies to lovers in a high fantasy world. And what I like is that it makes sense. I feel like sometimes enemies to lovers, it just doesn't. But in this one, following a female character who is sent to look at some laws that may have been broken, and the male character's father just passed away and he's now the head of his people. So right away they get kidnapped by labor hunters and they escape, but unfortunately they are stuck chained together. So things progress. The first half of the book I definitely giggled, kicked my feet a lot, and then the world building, the political intrigues start more. And then I started this one right away because of course I'm only like 100 pages into it so far, not so much giggling and foot kicking, but it's okay. It's still the world building. It's still the political intrigue happening. I'm enjoying it too. So I'm curious to see what's going to happen, and I'm hoping everyone's going to be okay because I am definitely emotionally invested. So that's the first one I right away had to pick. I've also been reading a ton of nonfiction so far this year, and I wanted to get a few more. First off, these were from my Amazon wishlist. Thank you so much. They are microbiomes and viruses in this collection that I just want to hoard them all. They're so cute. They are a very short introduction by Oxford. So they basically pay an expert in their field to write a very short introduction on their topic. So you get an overview of it, and it's not dumbed down. So like it's definitely super interesting, and you have to still focus a little bit. And at the end, you get a further reading section where the expert gives you other books you might want to look into if you want to learn more. So super intrigued to read those. I've already read like 2 this year. I'm currently reading my 3rd one, so making progress. I have been looking for The Hot Zone for years. It is a nonfiction on the Ebola virus, and it was recommended to me years ago. I used to read a lot of like post-apocalyptic diseases killing everyone, not so much lately, but apparently this is a nonfiction that reads like fiction, and my library did not have it. I think you can find the ebook online, but I hate reading books on my phone or my laptop that is like a nonfiction. I can't focus, so I finally got my copy. This is probably the most used book I've ever bought. But hey, I'm happy. I've been looking for this for years, so finally have it. I also really like weirdly specific nonfiction books. I feel like they show you that like everything is that deep. So I got this one about parking spots, which might sound like the most boring thing ever, but I feel like it can be interesting depending on the author. So Paved Paradise, How Parking Explains the World, which I read Walkable City earlier this year, and it was talking about like city planning, urban planning, and I feel like parking spots play a big role again in all of these deeper topics. So I feel like this could be a winner, but we'll see. I have read a few people saying that it was entertaining and like funny. We'll see about that, but yeah. I feel like this could be really, really good or very boring, depending on the author. I have also been asking for recommendations about Indigenous people books, nonfiction, because I live in Canada and I feel like I've heard literally nothing about the topic in school. So I got 2 more. The first one is Truth Telling, 7 Conversation about Indigenous Life in Canada. And then I got The Inconvenient Indian, a curious account of Native people in North America. So I got these 2. If you've tried them, please let me know if they were good. I'm hoping to get to them really quickly. I had picked a really thick, slow-paced nonfiction, so I've slowed down a little bit, but I think I'm just going to pause it and pick something else. Okay, let's pause the nonfiction and go back to Romantasy. Like I said, I don't know anything, so I was asking people recommendation, like, did you read this? What's good? And you know how it is, people get excited to give you recommendations. So I found a couple books to try. They're not necessarily things I would have picked for myself, but I'm just excited to try a different one. That way, even if it doesn't go well, I learned something about my taste. So the first one is Phantasma. I would have never picked this up. The title, the cover, I feel like a lot of books have these kind of covers, just does not necessarily appeal to me. But the back does sound interesting. So the main character, her mother is brutally murdered, so she's now narrating her family's magic and a lot of debt. So she decides to participate into Phantasma, which is a competition where contestants rarely escape alive, and the victor is granted a single wish. And it says like it has only 2 rules: stay alive and don't fall in love. I feel like that could be really good or really bad depending. I get secondhand embarrassment. That kind of played a role in like me not loving like really spicy or just romance heavy novels. So I don't know how that's gonna go for me. But the manor is cursed and full of like enticing demons and fatal temptations. So this could be really entertaining. Like even sometimes there are books, you don't give them 5-star. They might be a bit cringe, but like you can't put them down. They're so good, funny that, you know? I'm thinking like I read the Selection trilogy in like one weekend, and I joked that I had the flu, which I did, and like I just could not put them down. Like were they good? No, but like I just needed to know how it continued. So it could be something like that also for me with any of these. So that's the first one. Honestly, there's a 50-50 chance there. The next one I picked is Metal Slinger, which apparently is popular, but again, I haven't heard of any of these because they're outside my comfort zone, but if you do know, let me know in the comment section. But it did sound interesting. The main character is trying to become a guard, and there's this rite of passage. She has to go to this market, and when she does go, she is accosted by this soldier who has come for a mission who's taken an oath to bring her back to where she belongs. So she will learn secret about her past, and it says that she breaks a century-long peace treaty while she's there. So I'm curious to see if it's good, if it's my cup of tea or not. I know it happens also a bit on the sea, and I do like pirates. It's probably not what this is about, but you know, on the sea. The next one is Rose in Chain, which again, not something I would have picked up, but apparently this is a great author. So I wanted to try. If I like her, then I will have more books to read by her. So this one is set after there's been this big war, which I've been reading more and more fantasy with that premise, and so far it's been working for me. But specifically this one, the kingdom fell, she lost her brother, and then she's being sold to the enemies, and she's sold because she has magic. She's sold specifically to this man who she went to school with. I think it's going to be an enemies to lovers, which has also worked for me in the past. The war is over, the dark forces have won, and the hero that was supposed to save them is dead. And the premise is making it sound that he might not be actually an enemy, which we'll see. Have you read this? Is it worth it? Let me know. The next one, I can't stop laughing, but bear with me. Shield of Sparrows. It's another romantasy, but I can't stop laughing because the way it's described, like the premise, it just sounds a little cringy, but it can be really entertaining. It's just like the classic, like, oh, I don't want to be a princess. I don't want to, you know, be a hero in a fantasy world, but she is. Being a princess has never been more than a performance. I was never asked to be part of the charade until the day an infamous monster hunter sailed to our shores, the day a prince walked into my father's throne room and ruined my life, the day I married a stranger. It just seems like the caricature of what I think about romantasy, and I'm curious if I'm just being, again, too picky with the secondhand embarrassment, and I just need to let myself enjoy them for what they are, or if they just don't work for me. So again, this one had good ratings too, but again, ratings on Goodreads for books that are not in a genre that works for you don't really mean anything, but I will see if the classic, you know, my idea of a classic romantasy works for me or not. I feel like sometimes you can be your own enemy with stuff like that, and just you think that something is not for you, but you read it and actually it's good. I have been wanting to read this one for a while. This is Rage Becomes Her, The Power of Women's Hanger, which I can't say without sounding wrong, but oh, see, best book of 2018. So this one is about specifically women's anger, which I feel like growing up, it wasn't perceived as a thing that we should focus on. Like, you're supposed to bury everything in. It's probably why so many women have autoimmune diseases. But this nonfiction is about how it's not only justified, but it's also necessary, and how it can be a catalyst for change and improving society. So I was curious to try this one. I've heard good things. I also feel like I'm learning more and more things that I just never learned in school, like ever. so I wanted to learn more about. This one is King Leopold's Ghost, a story of greed, terror, and heroism in colonial Africa, which I feel like in school I've learned literally nothing about Africa, but this is about a genocide that happened in Congo, and it's specifically King Leopold, which is the king of Belgium, was the king of Belgium. But yes, I've never heard about that genocide, so I wanted to learn more about it. Apparently this is a really good book. And I also picked up A Fever in Earthland, how the KKK plots to take over America and no one who stopped them. I've been seeing more and more recommendations for nonfiction that reads like fiction, and that was one of them. Yeah, they're calling it a historical thriller. I wasn't sure at first it was nonfiction or fiction, but yes, apparently it's one of those nonfiction that reads like fiction. I've heard, again, good things about this one. And then I got this one. This is The Blood Trials, which I've been wanting to read more fantasy sci-fi. I feel like it's a really interesting mix whenever you're following like magic and technology. So that one sounded interesting because of that. It says actually magic and technology converge in the first part of this stunning debut duology where loyalty to oneself and one's blood is more important than anything. So I was curious. I got that one. Hopefully I enjoy it. This was my quick little book haul. I hope you enjoyed it. Please let me know, like I said, if you have any recommendations for Romantasy books. I'm probably going to try to look for them, and I will do like maybe 1 or 2 more hauls this year, and then I'll probably do a couple months of no buy until I can go through more of the books on my shelves. If there's anything in there that you have read, once again, I would love to hear your thoughts. Thumbs up, subscribe, more videos on the screen, and you will be seeing reading vlogs very soon on that topic. Bye.